Hi, I'm Dave Cut, and you're watching another Comic Chat. What's up, guys? Back again today with another fun comic with the story of Hellverine. And this is a 4-part series, so we're starting off with part 1. And this story starts off in Hell with Mephisto. And Mephisto has many servants, many worshipful humans, possessed animals, corrupted shadows, cursed objects. But among his favorites is the demon known as Bagra Ghul. And Bagra Ghul has erected monumentus of suffering in his honor, both in the halls of hell and in the world above. He first found a vessel in a child, conceived on a blood altar. His name was Bram Straub, and Bram reluctantly did the work prescribed of him for many years, until he caught notice of Project Hellfire, where there was a deal struck. Because they wanted Bagra Ghul as a weapon, and Bram honestly just wanted to be free of this possession. So they found a new host, and then Logan, the man known as Wolverine, the Hellverine, was born. The ultimate killing machine. Spirit of Vengeance was the only one capable of stopping him. Spirit of Vengeance, aka Johnny Blaze or Ghost Rider, was the only one who could stop him. The demon was stealed away in a moment, marking its own apparent demise. But in fact, Bagra Ghul has been healing, hibernating, waiting to return, afoot in two worlds, and now it is ready to rise again, as we see something exploding from the earth. As we flash to 1 month ago, in the far north on the shore of the Hudson Bay, at the container ship docks, it comes from across the Atlantic, and it carries a different sort of commercial load. The people agreed to be stowed away, hoping for a better life awaited them. But they have been sold into slavery. Those who survive have been transported from here to basements and clubs and massage parlors, except that something finds them first. As you can see, fire approaching them in the mirror. And then we cut to 3 weeks ago in upstate New York. There is a small church there struggling to survive. So the priest decides to do something about it. And during Mass, he laces the communion wine with drugs, creating dependency and wild, ecstatic visions that bring more worshippers every week. Several have died, but several more have taken their place. And now the priest's time for confession has come. So we can see Hellfire in his glasses. Because Bagra Ghul has risen once more. The Hellverine walks among us. But something is different this time. Resurrection brings change. As we flash back to Arlington National Cemetery just 2 days ago, it's pouring down rain and there are 5 graves laid out. They were part of an elite fire team. Extensively trained, highly decorated. There was no unit more dangerous or effective in the army. But an ambush put an end to all but one of them. And now their families and their nations mourn. We see the funeral ending and everyone starting to leave as one of the soldiers says, "The cemetery is cleared, General Harms." And General telling everyone, "All right, it's time to dig them up." As we come to somewhere in Virginia, present day, we can see Logan standing in a bar, and they say, "He was easy to find if you knew where to look. Roadside bars that smelled like stale beer and the ghosts of 1,000 cigarettes. Ideally with sawdust and peanut shells on the floor for soaping up the blood." The bartender didn't ask if he could help the visitors. They were clearly here on business, as we see men approach Logan and him saying, "Whoever you are, you smell like gun oil and sulfur," before attacking. You can see that at the Washington, D.C., at the Pentagon just yesterday. Deep below is a new facility called the Pentangle, and this is the home of Project Hellfire. We could see General Harms walking in, asking the Dr. Spivey if they were ready, and her telling them that they're not even close, they're still running diagnostics. And here we can see why they're so far behind, as Dr. Spivey tells them they don't know much about the Hellfire energy. But he reassures her, telling her that each one of those soldiers costs $60 million. And they're not just going to write this off, and that they better get their bodies prepped as fast as you can break down a rifle and clean it. This lab is devoted to the arsenal of hell. Iron forged with the blood of sinners. Weapons charged with the screams of the damned. Sulfurous bombs burning chains, poisoned hooks that cause torturous pain, pain, right down to the marrow of one's soul. Hellfire is a weapon, as we can see the doctor hooking up the 5 bodies that they dug up to a machine. And as General Harms throws the switch down, the machine turns on, and the 5 bodies light up with Hellfire. Then we cut back to today in Virginia, where we can see Logan taking on the soldiers, but they knock him out with tranq darts with what they say is twice as much as it takes to take down a polar bear. You can see Dr. Spivey saying restrain him before his healing factor kicks in, and he wakes up. As we cut back to yesterday at Project Hellfire, we can see what happens after General Harms had thrown down the switch and activated the machine. Dr. Spivey is a little worried, but General Harms reassures her, telling her that the building is completely locked down and that they will fall in line. We can see them starting to wake, and General Harms yelling at them, telling them that he's their new commanding officer and he orders them to stand down. But they seemingly don't listen, as one grabs a scientist close to him and immediately burns his face to ashes and says, "Dead. Dead is better," before killing himself and stabbing himself in his own eye. We can see the other 4 gaping, as General Harms is just left standing there saying, "Stop them." But no one's really stopping these guys, as you can see them tearing up the lab as Dr. Spivey and General Harms run away. We can see the other 4 making it to the surface and killing everyone along their way before they escape themselves. And we flash back to 4 days ago outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where we can see a giant mansion and a bunch of people gathering for dinner. They say some of the servants of hell have a sense beyond smell or sight of touch. They hear the sound of sin. They taste the evil in the air. Such is the case with Bagra Ghul. The demon knows darkness, the way a compass knows north. As we can see, these people were actually here to eat someone else. We can see Hellverine crashing in through the window on a flaming motorcycle. They say he was hungry too. That this supper club had been meeting once a month for over a decade. They only ate what they hunted. And what they hunted was the poor and the vulnerable population, the ones that no one would ever miss. Now it was their turn to be hunted. As we see Hellverine outside on his motorcycle as the mansion burns down, we can see that he had killed everybody at that party and strung them together and put them up on the chandelier. They say something had to happen when Bagra Ghul bound itself together with Wolverine. A twining, a warping. Logan was scared through his center with regret for all the terrible things he had done, but he weaponized that guilt. And when Logan lashed out now, he did so with a repentant spirit. And in the same fashion, Bagra Ghul could still bathe in blood and wallow in entrails and delight in pain, while punishing the punishers. Punishers like the ones he sensed now, their darkness stacked up on the horizon like a bank of terrible thunderclouds, as we see Hellverine riding off. We cut back to today, where Logan is waking up in a dark room, and we can see General Harms questioning him. "Why didn't you use your powers?" And Logan popping the claws and says, "I got your powers right here." But Harms is telling him, "I'm not talking about your little claws. I'm talking about your Hellfire power, like you did 4 weeks ago." But as General Harms is showing him all these killings and everything that Hellverine's been doing, Logan tells him that's not him. But General Harms tells him, "You're talking to the new head of the Project Hellfire. They created the Hellverine. They implanted that demonic spirit in him. They know who Logan is." But Logan just headbutts General Harms, telling him, "You guys aren't listening. That shit got ripped out of him by the Ghostwriter long ago." But none of it made sense, that the Bagra Ghul guy is the bad guy. He doesn't go out hunting the bad guys. But General Harms just wants to know, if it's not Logan, then who's this new Hellverine? And as helicopters show up and start firing down upon Hellverine and the destroyers, one of the destroyers launches chains up, grabs one of the helicopters, and throws it down right over Hellverine. As it explodes, you can see General Harm showing Logan the next day what had happened, telling him that they had killed 50 people in the span of just an hour, that their firepower had no impact, but the Hellverine sure did, and that he needed to fight fire with fire, and asking Logan if he would help him. And Logan agrees, telling him to pull up that footage again the moment when the Hellverine got blasted by those choppers, because he can sniff and see better than most. And as they watch the video and slow it down, we can see Logan saying, "Almost there, right there, it can't be." Before General Harms asks, "What, did you see something?" We cut back to somewhere in Maryland, and Logan saying something that wouldn't mean anything to you. Too small on the screen, but something I'd recognize anywhere. A tattoo. As we can see who the Hellverine actually is. Logan saying, "That's my son. That's Akihiro." But it's impossible, because he's dead. That's all for the first book, as we can see a little bit of a recap. We see Wolverine and Ghost Rider encountered a demon called Bagra Ghul, who had possessed a young boy, using his body as a vessel to transform into Hellfire-fueled monster that would kill innocents and stitch them into horrific works of art. Logan and Blaze defeated Bagra Ghul, but not before it possessed Wolverine, transforming him into Hellverine. Wolverine was able to reject the demon and lock it away, but Bagra Ghul is free, and thus rises the Hellverine Resurrection. So that'll do it for the first chapter, but we'll have the part 2, part 3, and part 4 coming up next. So stay tuned, guys, and thanks for hanging out.